It is estimated that hundreds of ships and vessels go missing each year due to weather, computer malfunctions, and sometimes even without explanation. Join me as we look at some of the most mysterious voyages at sea who seem to have vanished without a trace. On August 5th, 1944, the vessel, the Island Queen, had been one of two vessels, along with its companion, the Providence Mark, which embarked from Grenada on an excursion for St. Vincent. Manning the ship of the Island Queen was Captain Shikra Salab, who was joined by 67 passengers from the St. Joseph's Convent, all of whom were traveling together to a wedding event. The Island Queen had been the favored vessel of the passengers for the occasion, several of whom had went aboard the ship within the final moments as the sailing vessels embarked on their voyage. As the Island Queen, an 85-foot staysail ship, and its companion, the Providence Mark, set sail, the two ships traveled barely half a mile apart from one another, each vessel's captain aware of each other's location. 2 hours at sea brought the vessels along the western edge of Karaku Island. The weather had been fair up until this point, and as the pair's ships skirted the island, a light rain began to fall. Although the weather had not been severe at the time, visibility soon began to worsen. Aboard the Providence Mark, we were able to see the Island Queen as she moved into what appeared to be a slightly heavier section of the storm, a short distance away. However, though, few of the passengers watching at the time would have never guessed that would be the last time they or anyone else would ever see the Island Queen or any of its passengers again. Within minutes, the Providence Mark also began to sail into the storm that had suddenly appeared, and once it had emerged from the weather, there was no sign of the Island Queen. The captain of the Providence Mark, assuming that Captain Salab had managed to outpace them with the Island Queen's superior motor, he then decided to sail onward with the full expectation that the two ships would be reunited in a few short hours. At 23:50 military time, the Providence Mark arrived at St. Vincent. However, to the surprise of the captain and the ship's passengers, the Island Queen was nowhere in sight. Upon realization that the ship had never arrived at the port, a search effort was quickly organized from both the U.S. and British Navy. The ship searched the area where the Island Queen was last seen, but to no avail. Despite the quick action of the search party, no sign at all could be found of the missing ship. Unfortunately, it would appear that it had lost its companion vessel entirely. To this day, the fate of the ship remains a mystery, although a number of theories about what might have led to the disappearance have been proposed over the years. Among these, one involves the idea that a fire may have broken out on board the ship as it entered the storm, and the falling rain caused it to obscure the view from those aboard the Providence Mark, although no observations of fire were made. Alternative theories about the ship's disappearance range from the idea of rogue waves to the fact that the boat went missing south of the famous Bermuda Triangle. a geographical area associated with a number of similar disappearances over the years to come. Perhaps the most bizarre idea that has been proposed about the disappearance having occurred during the final year of the Second World War involves the boat's capture by a German submarine. However, this theory has little supporting evidence, and that searches for the vessel remain unsuccessful to this day. A 29-foot vessel called the Mako Cuddy, with 20 people on board, left Bimini in the Bahamas on December 28, 2020, but never arrived at its destination of Lake Worth, Florida. That area is the Florida corner, which happens to be near the infamous Bermuda Triangle, known for boats and planes to go missing. Kinda makes you wonder, is this what happened to this one? And why is there so little information about it? The Coast Guard report on Facebook was picked up by the New York Times and other mainstream media outlets. A detailed map made by the Coast Guard boats and aircraft was released, but no further information about the vessel or its passengers was made. The U.S. Coast Guard gave an update log suspending the search on January 1st at 7:43 p.m. It reads, "Update. The U.S. Coast Guard suspended its search at approximately noon for the overdue vessel between the Bahamas and South Florida. The Coast Guard and partner agencies searched approximately 17,000 square miles, roughly double the size of Massachusetts, for about 84 hours. Coast Guard Petty Officer Jose Hernandez revealed one strange bit of information to the South Florida Sun Sentinel, saying, there was no signal received from an emergency radio beacon, which could mean this was a boat with the beacon removed to avoid detection. However, it was said to have 20 passengers, and the family of one of them reported the disappearance. Strangely, though, there don't appear to be any other similar reports. Officer Hernandez told the New York Times that, besides the names and nationalities of the passengers and crew, other details on the ship were missing, including why it was even sailing to Florida, and where specifically on Lake Worth Beach it was heading. He pointed out that these details don't matter to the Coast Guard. It's their job to rescue first and ask questions later. But the rescue has been called off, and this is now just a search operation that could be aided by more information. Theories suggest that as the boat was heading up from the Bahamas, that it encountered the Bermuda Triangle, which is a known area for sinking ships and planes, and even UFO phenomena. It's said that the magnetic field within this area causes engine failure, and other electromagnetic phenomena, some theories suggest. But no one knows for sure exactly what happened, and why there is barely any information about this. At almost 550 feet in length, the USS Cyclops was one of the largest ships in U.S. Navy's history, and in March 1918, when the ship set sail from the West Indies, carrying more than 300 crew members and a cargo of close to 11,000 tons, the Cyclops was bound for Baltimore when it seemingly vanished from the face of the earth. The Cyclops, having been in frequent operation since 1910, the massive Navy transport ship was in frequent operation, traveling far south to Mexico and the Caribbean, frequently being deployed for the transportation of coal to various locations around the world. However, as war began in 1917, the ship's cargo capacity made it an asset to the U.S. Navy, which began to deploy aid with providing much-needed coal to help power ships during the war effort. One last communication had been sent from the ship as it departed from Brazil en route to Barbados, where it would stock up before continuing its trek northward to Baltimore. Over the course of the next 9 days, the Cyclops made its passage through the Atlantic waters. Yet, at some point along the way, something went terribly wrong. So much so that whatever events led to the ship's disappearance, it happened so quickly that there had been no time to send a distress signal or any other indication of what might have gone wrong. A report from the Santa Fe magazine said, usually a wooden bucket or cork life preserver identified as belonging to a lost ship is picked up after a wreck, but not so with the Cyclops. The mystery of her disappearance remains unsolved more than a century later. So what could have happened to the Cyclops during her fateful voyage to Baltimore? As historical researchers and amateur studies looked into the mystery during the decades, plausible theories about the ship's fate included the idea that being a supply ship with a load of magnesium would have made it a likely target for German submarines that might have been operating in the region. As time has drawn on, some have looked beyond the horizon towards other possibilities, theories involving everything from mutiny aboard the ship, which ironically led to an investigation by the Navy in the months ahead of the ship's disappearance, to even having encounters with UFOs. The Navy issued an official statement that called it one of the most baffling mysteries in the history of the Navy, adding that all attempts to locate her have proved unsuccessful. A theory proposed by Marvin Barash, a descendant of one of the men who presumably went down with the ship, believes it might have been a perfect storm that likely brought her down. As the Cyclops sailed within the vicinity of the Puerto Rico Trench, it would have been capable of sinking to irretrievable depths, where it likely remains hidden today. However, though, whatever circumstances might have led to the ship's mysterious fate, the disappearance of the vessel, along with its 306 crew members and passengers, leaves it to history as one of the largest loss of life in U.S. naval history that can be attributed to a single event, and one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of the last century. Thanks for watching. Till next time.